Excuse me, sir. You can't park there.
But isn't this the place with all the cool ass guns?
This is Live Free Armory. Of course it is. Why don't you come on in?
Let's go see those guns.
Awesome. Glad you stopped by. Welcome to Mission Command Center of Live Free Armory.
Let's go see those guns. Hey guys, we're down here in Melbourne, Florida at Live Free Armory. I've got Sarge at C4 Defense here with me, and that's the gun snob down there at the end. We took the shop tour. Now we're going to sit down and talk to Colby, the CEO and owner of Live Free Armory, and Ethan, his manufacturing engineer. So let's get into the interview with those guys and see what makes Live Free Armory tick. We're here today with Colby and Ethan from Live Free Armory. Why don't you guys tell us what you guys do here? What number of machines, capabilities, what sets you apart from other companies out there?
Start it off, Ethan.
Well, we are an OEM manufacturer for firearms parts. We do other parts as well, but we have about 85 machines now. That number's always growing. We can machine just about anything. We've got 5-axis, mill turn. We got Swiss capabilities, EDMs, all the good stuff. So we make mostly firearms parts. We make a lot of slides for different platforms. AR-15s, 308s is our kind of our bread and butter. And we came out with our AMP this year. So that's been our flagship pistol. And that's our first true, from the ground up, firearm, Live Free Armory.
Yeah, because we've been working with you guys for a little while. And up until we came down here and saw the shop, I don't think any of us had any idea how big and how many machines you guys actually had down here. So it was kind of an eye opener for us to come down here. And I know as we've been down here talking to you guys, it's always, Colby is always looking for the next machine and get there. So you may have a little bit of a problem with buying machines.
So yeah, we actually have, the number I think is 92, last I heard. Once our gun drill cell comes. So over in our other building, we've got a gun drill cell, should be here in the next few weeks actually. So probably in the next month or two, that'll be up. And max capacity on that is about 500 a day of AR barrels, gun blanks, being able to do precision barrels. And we kind of get that from everybody, you know, where people that come down and see the facility don't realize how big we are because we've been behind the scenes and we manufacture a lot of parts for different companies and have been doing it for a long time. And we have a little bit of everything. We work with a few of the aerospace companies that are around here, mostly just because of our capability and being able to have our inspection capability with our CMMs, EDM capabilities, some of the equipment that's not even available in Florida, we actually have here, and we basically take from my aerospace background and apply it to firearms.
History right there. But tell us the history of Live Free Armory, like where you guys started, how you started, and kind of what's going on.
So actually, it's a garage company.
Really?
We started in a garage, building firearms. Was the first assembling parts. Went from there to 2,000 square foot warehouse. We were still doing the engineering. I was doing the engineering design, and then I was subbing it out to other CNC shops all across the U.S. And then as we started growing, then we started having more demand, more on parts, more on material, more, essentially everything. And so in order for quality and in order to keep up with the volume, we started bringing manufacturing in-house. And then that's kind of where it grew to where we are now, where we would have one part that we were having issues with. So it's okay, that's my background, so let's bring in that machine, and then we start making that part. Then we'd have overcapacity, so then we'd sell either that part or some other capacity off from that machine to other companies. And then they would increase, we would increase, and from there we'd add more machinery, and then it just kind of kept growing to where we've got 92 machines and almost every capability that you could do on metal.
I know you said before that you have not run into any part that you haven't been able to make. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because of all the equipment and all the knowledge that you have. I found that very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and really that's where we're expanding now, is expanding on those capabilities. So we have pretty close to one of everything, and then just keep building upon that, whether it be turning, whether it be multi-axis machining, whether it be our EDM capabilities, our inspection lab. That's truly what started with Live Free Armory, and that's where we were doing some of the aerospace stuff, was based on that as well.
And I know that up until now, you've been making AR-15 parts and a lot of slides. Do you have any estimate of how much you have made? Like how many parts? I know that's going to be a crazy question to ask, but like how many do you think are out there?
We do, I want to say we do about 20,000 parts a week right now. So to just kind of put that into perspective. And most of our parts are more complex parts. It's not little pins or buttons or springs or stuff like that. It's more of the main components that are on there.
But what is your background? As far as this whole thing.
Go for it.
Oh, you want me to? So, I used to be in the Army. When I got out, I decided to go to school due to extraordinary circumstances. I went from a law enforcement degree to mechanical engineering. So I was actually in my last couple years of school when I met up with Colby and became an intern, part-time employee here running machines because they wanted to grow their next engineer from the ground up. So basically I needed to know how we run everything on the floor before I ever got to engineer anything. And it also gave me a chance to finish my degree. So from there I finished my degree from UCF in mechanical engineering and came over here as a full-time design engineer. And my background as far as firearms parts and firearms go, I've been shooting for years, carried a rifle for a living, and then got out of it and just kept wanting to be in the shooting sports. So I shoot a lot of competitions. A lot of my input into designs is based on little things that I've noticed shooting factory parts from competition. Like some things just don't work well and we have to actually make our own parts to do it. You get into a stage and it doesn't work the way you want it to. So that's my background as far as shooting goes.
What about you, Colby?
So as far as in the firearms industry, I've been hunting since my dad tells me at 3 days old. He brought me around in the truck and was bird hunting. He said he missed a partridge because he leaned over, and here I am. So, I've been hunting my whole life. Grew up in New Hampshire, up in the mountains. A lot of my family's still up there, so it was a bit of a change coming down to Florida. Kind of learning a little bit different aspects on here. And then as far as manufacturing, I grew up in a shop. Started when I was about 13, 14 years old, just doing part-time, learning how to push buttons. We did a bunch of contracts for another firearms manufacturer, and so that was kind of how I paid for college. Went off to school, decided that I wanted to send stuff up into space, or I wanted to make really cool things and become an engineer, and picked up a business management degree along the way. And then unfortunately school is very expensive, and I was kind of paying through it through machining. And once I got my first job applications, decided, well, here they were going to ship me off to the city, and then I was going to have to pay rent, and then I had 6 months and I was going to go back to Here's or go across the country, and decided, well, I'm going to go back into manufacturing. And I ended up going back into my hometown, started working there, helped grow a shop. Engineering, I was still doing a lot of the programming, designing, and then I would go and travel over to their shop and try to help them set up with the manufacturing process, the QC process. And then I would go to another shop and I'd try to help them with the manufacturing process and the QC process. And then I got to the point that, we moved to Florida, and I'm living all across different places across the country. And if we ran into a QC concern or a material concern, then I'm traveling back up there. So it got to the point that it was more beneficial for us to start bringing this in-house. My plan was to never be a manufacturing company because of all the problems and everything that can possibly go wrong, and all the overhead that's involved into it, and all the material and all the people. And we've got 115 people that are now, that responsible for it to be able to continue manufacturing and be able to make our own stuff in these other companies. So as we grew and our needs grew, then we just kept bringing it in. It was all based off our engineering. And then bigger manufacturers were coming to us saying, we need help to be able to make these parts. And fortunately, because of our engineering, because of our inspection, we could start adding spindles and be able to ramp up production. And some of our prototyping that we've been able to do, that we got to show you guys this week, that we took a concept from nothing, blank canvas, and in 1 week had a design, and in virtual world worked. And then the next this week we're already starting to make, and being able to get that part into testing significantly faster, where a company, some of these larger manufacturers, it takes them years to be able to launch stuff because of the engineering aspect of it, where we can get through the engineering and already into the testing and prototyping very quickly. So
we were surprised. When we came in Monday, we came down here, the shop was closed. You still had some, I think you were still working on it a little bit, but Tuesday when we got here, you showed us the new project coming up, and then we were out there cutting the first prototype on it. So, but you're looking at next week, you're getting the prototypes going on it, and I mean, that's amazing to me that you go from paper to parts in the matter of a week or so.
And especially multiple parts. It's one thing to get one job, but where we're making everything in-house, we're talking barrel, we're talking bolt carrier group, we're talking the upper, the lower, even the smaller components that are in there, and the functioning parts that are in there, that we go from design and testing and everything else. So it was very cool to have you guys part of that process and kind of see what we can do.
And you guys just got an Easter egg. All right, Colby, we covered this a little bit in one of the other questions, but we've got the 2 deer heads up there, and when we came down here, you took us hog hunting. So we talked doing that. We know you're a big time hunter, so tell us a little bit about that and what you like about hunting and all that kind of stuff.
So, grew up in New Hampshire. A lot tougher hunting there than quite a few different places. My family, all my family hunts. They're very traditional. We don't do deer pushes. We have stands, but we don't feed. We don't. We basically work on.
What's a deer push?
It's like a man-driven push.
Yeah.
Or dog-driven
Yeah.
push.
Bunch of people
Okay.
on one end and a hunter and somebody
Yeah,
hunting
you
on the
drive
other
the
end.
deer
You
to
drive
you.
it to.
Okay.
And you basically have a plot of land with roads on certain sides. Now we avoid that plot of land, even though you know there's deer in there, and we go up into the mountains. One of the biggest problems with hunting that way is you're in a mountain where these deer, generally they'll have a circle, but that circle they could not come around for 2 weeks on certain things. So it was very, very tough hunting, but that's what our entire family has always done, and love it. And since I moved down here, I've been able to try a few different things, and hog hunting on a buggy, and,
That was awesome.
and everything. I'm thinking like, no, it's legal. Where up north it is not. So I've been able to find and really enjoy my passion of hunting, and I'm looking forward to taking the company to a lot of those different models and things that I can use. And I want to start going out west, and I want to start having some more fun and enjoying that, and being able to bring people that haven't hunted before is incredible. To be able to bring people from the shop out, and we just did a Texas hunt with our quality engineer, and he's from the same area as me, and he's never been able to do something like that, and to see that, and that's fun. And I also watch a lot of Meat Eater, so I look at some of those trips and fishing trips out in Hawaii and all these different places, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to expand on that passion and be able to bring people from company or just friends, family, everybody else kind of along with me.
Yeah, when we were out there on the hog hunt, and he started talking about he does gator hunts, and he's got stuff out west where he's got elk hunts and mule deer hunts. I could just you were like a little kid in a candy store out there.
His smile just got so big.
Once you started talking about that stuff, you were all in.
Yeah, I want to be able to go pack out and spend 3-4 days out and just kind of glass over the mountains and stalk and watch. And a lot of times, when I go through, a lot of people love the thrill of the kill or anything like that. I love just being out in the woods and being able to watch, and and I come back and I don't have anything, I'm not disappointed. I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to go out on the fishing boat and just watch everybody else fish, and watch these mahi just come up 8 feet into the air.
A couple of those were a little feisty out there yesterday.
Yeah, and no, it's a lot of fun.
All right, cool.
Ethan, I know that you touched on the competition shooting. I can tell from our range day with your perfect thumb alignment that you shoot lock competitions. Can you tell us like something about the competitions that you shoot in? Because I know there's different types. Just tell us a little bit about that.
So predominantly, I only shoot in 2 or 3 different types. So your IDPA, I've shot a couple of those using the amp, and then USPSA. That's all pistol on steel or paper, depending on the competition. But my main one is actually PRS style shooting. That doesn't necessarily mean in the PRS. It could be NRL, PRS, or
You gotta use those last 2 acronyms. You gotta tell us what those stand for.
Precision Rifle Series.
Okay.
So either bolt or gas gun. I usually run bolt because that's where I've learned the most, and you get the most capability out of it, at least in my opinion. And then sniper competitions. So that's a 2-man team. I got a buddy. We go to these different competitions, and you do your sniper style shooting in 2-man team, and it's a little bit harder. It's all blind stages. There's no like gaming it. You just do it.
Give us an idea of like target size, distance, like I know there's no typical, because you say that they are several different stages, but just give us an idea.
So your general target size in a sniper competition is going to be 1 MOA, maybe 2 on the longer stages. Your PRS is going to be 1 to 3/4 MOA target from 0. The shortest range I ever shot in a PRS match was 100 yards. From there to about 1,000, sometimes a little bit further. Not very many rifles can get past 1,000 with any real accuracy. So
you've managed to put some on steel on a small target like that at that distance. Wow.
Yeah, my smallest target I've shot is it's pretty small. It's about the size of a head at 1,000 yards. Well, it's 1037, but
Like a normal size head or a starter size?
Well, yeah.
a normal one.
Okay.
So I'm really in trouble.
That was a good day. Actually, there was a stage. It was a variation of what we call a Know Your Limits stage. So Know Your Limits is varying target size. It goes big to small in a series. They're all the same distance. They're all right next to each other. But it's kind of a gambling. It gets your gamble fix on if you're a gambler. If you stop and say, I'm done, you get all your points. The second you miss one round, you lose everything.
What's the benefit to keep going?
The points go up for every
More
hit.
points.
So if you go from big targets worth like 1, and it goes up from there, depending on how the stage is set up. But this one was a timed Know Your Limits, so you were just going to shoot it anyway. It didn't matter. And I cleared 5 targets, starting from big to small. The smallest was about the size of a head. It was 37 seconds with a bolt gun.
Wow.
So
That's
that was pretty crazy. I enjoyed that a lot.
Oh yeah, that's pretty amazing. I think there's a story floating around about you may have taken out your I'm going to call this your baby, the amp pistol, to a competition and did pretty good.
Yeah. So right after we finished and did the initial release of the amp, me and our customer service rep went to a local IDPA. It's a state level match that is hosted in not too far from the shop where we live. And I finished second in my division in my first major IDPA competition. So
With a brand new gun.
with a brand new gun, yeah.
Not even it's brand new to you, just a brand new gun.
Yeah. Actually, we built those guns like 3 days before, like the Friday before the match.
You guys have a tendency to build guns just like 3 days before, because right before we went hunting, we found out the guns we hunted with, you guys built like 3 days before we got here.
Well, I zeroed them the day before you got here.
Oh, okay. So there's that.
Yeah, you know.
We wanted examples of true production guns. We're not going to cherry pick.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but I'll throw a picture up there. We were able to put one of those brand new guns through the same hole.
Yeah, so yeah, that one, the shooter did well. It was a .8 MOA group. It's pretty good. That's so with quality ammo on the Hunter, it's very possible to get something away without any actual work.
And like you said, that's a brand new production gun that you just put together.
Speaking of brand new production guns, this is my segue because I'm good like this.
Yeah, and then you announce it.
Oh, I know, but I gotta announce it because I'm good like this. No. Speaking of your brand new production guns, though, talk about your product line. What all y'all sell right now and all that. And then I got another one that kind of follows this one.
Do you want to do this one?
You got this.
Okay. All right. So our amp pistol line is currently 2 pistols. So you have the amp and the amp X. It's a aluminum match grade pistol that is featuring a fire control unit. That's a modular piece that one serial number, you can change your frames in and out. So we have those 2 right now. We also have our 308 line, LF10 line, and that includes the battle rifle, which is a budget-oriented sub $1,000 308 AR. You have the Hunter, which is an upgraded version of that, and then you have the LF65 Creedmoor, which is the match, super heavy, super accurate type rifle. So we have those in the 308 line, and then we have the 5.56 line, which has our Leo in it. That's what we've got right now and then we have our slide options that we also sell.
And you also sell match receiver sets, correct?
Yes. And handguards and all the stuff.
And your 308 or your AR-10 receiver sets, what pattern are they?
They're mostly a DPMS. They're actually a little bit of both in some areas. So we took the good and put it up, kind of smashed it together until it worked right.
Well, that's something that I found out when researching AR-10s is that there's different patterns, and I like the fact that what you just said, you took the best of both and made really, I guess, an improved version.
Yeah.
So we got to be privy to some of your future projects, but do you want to give any teasers, any hints? Is there going to be some more pistols coming, some more rifles coming, anything like that? Anything you want to tease out there about what might be coming down the line from Know Live Free Armory soon?
So there's a few different projects. We're actually going to be putting together a schedule. We always have new prototypes. We always have different designs, everything else that's going on. It's normally multiple projects going on at the same time. So we're going to try releasing them, kind of on a weekly or bi-weekly schedule, whether it be different additions to current product lines that we have. And then we got some actually really cool new product lines that are going to be coming out. And it's all driven off a purpose of providing a quality firearm at a reasonable price. And so some of these projects that are coming out are going to be very competitive, and looking forward to getting into your guys' hands and other customers as well.
Real quick, unfortunately, I can't talk him into a 22-250 AR, so if he could get a bunch of emails requesting a 22-250 AR, it'd be great, because I'd really like to have one of theirs. So.
It's going to get like 3.
To actually expand on that, honestly, a lot of taking our engineering capability and being able to quickly change, we do. If we have a customer that comes here and says, hey, we want to see this addition to it, then that's what we start working on. We've got a project board, and all of a sudden that comes, all right, let's move that 3 or 4 projects ahead, or let's do this a change, and if it's something that we can change in a matter of a couple days and it's only a few hours of engineering, we'll do it right off. If it's something that we got to plan in, then we'll schedule it in, but everything that's reasonable and what we can do, we will add into this. So different projects, we're always looking for something fun. We've had some customers here even just last week that were looking at some big caliber, very big caliber guns, and maybe putting some parts and pieces together. That might lead to a different project. I know we definitely want to do
How big of a caliber?
a pretty big caliber. Yeah, so the testing, we're going to have to look at a different range, but we got a few different options to be able to come up with some fun stuff. So we've got some stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that's going to come out. I don't know if that's going to lead to anything, but you never know where in 6 months from now we're making 5 or 6 different parts from that, and we expand on it. I do know we're going to have some product lines that go along with our amp pistol. We're going to build off from that. We are looking at a subcompact. Yeah, so I'll throw that out there because that is a necessity, and it is playing around, and I'm interested. It's in the design stage at this point too, so I'm interested in feedback where people are saying they like about certain things, what they would like to add.
It's actually further than he thinks it is.
you never know. So and stuff like that can actually happen pretty quick.
And that's one of the benefits of you all being the engineer, the manufacturer, and everything, is how quick you can get this stuff from a thought to a actual market, to the market product.
And we're always looking for testing. When we went through the amp, we did 40,000 rounds. I think you did 40,000.
I did myself 40,000 rounds.
And I got at least 20,000 rounds in as well. And we had a point where we actually thought we hurt ourselves because we couldn't grab anything for a couple of weeks. So.
And I felt the amp a bunch. It doesn't recoil bad at all, so that's just a lot of rounds. Though.
We did 11,000 rounds in one night. And the only thing that saved us from burning ourselves was we had compressed air we could actually blow on the amp to cool it off in between strings.
Gosh almighty.
Yeah, we cooked the Cerakote off of it.
Wow.
You
So-
heat treated it from the inside.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's fun. I mean, we get to test, and especially being engineers, we get to see, what could go wrong, what happens, and if it does, then it's all right. We stop the project, we go back, we fix it. I mean, that is what our whole company is based off from. Is we want to make sure that we have the best product that's out there, and now we're looking at different parts of the industry, where I said, hunting, that's, my passion. I'm looking at, putting together something that we can have fun with, that I can bring other people with. And
I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm very excited about that. So, like I said, try not to do any time frames. When we're ready to release and marketing says we're good to go and production's good to go, QC's good to go, then we start putting time frames to stuff. But those are definitely some of the projects that we've got coming out. One that's going to be released here in the next few weeks, that'll be pretty big.
So if they followed you on Instagram or Facebook, they'd probably be some of the first people to know what it is, huh?
Absolutely.
The big thing here is customer feedback. So we've had, a customer says this could be a little bit better. We take that feedback into consideration. It doesn't always make a change, but we take that feedback into consideration and see what kind of change we can make to make it more palatable for everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some people may contact you and want something different for them, but does this work for everybody?
Yeah.
That's a different question.
Yeah, and we're always trying to make a better product. So some companies, they just kind of put it seems like, I don't work there, so I don't know, but it seems like they just kind of throw it out there and see what happens. But we're always, it's a lot of late nights and staring at a screen going, will this work? Will this make this better? Will it make it more manufacturable? Will it save the company money and make a better product? Because in a perfect world, we would do that. If we could save money and make a better product, but it doesn't always happen that way.
One major advantage that we do have is some of these bigger companies, like I said, we work with quite a few of them, where they find out that there's a problem. You have to change the entire production process. You have to stop and send people home. You have to, you know what I mean? So they kind of have to work through it, and it takes a significantly longer process, where we can do something where I get a phone call and I've got my laptop on me, doesn't matter where I am. I can do an adjustment from there. We have an entire engineering team that can do an adjustment. We can have something, fixed, modified, and in production in a matter of hours, where some of these larger companies, it takes months to be able to do that.
They got to contact people here, there, everywhere to fix what you guys can just do right then.
And just from being down here with you guys, I've seen you guys are two of the most driven people I know. You guys work like my wife does. You guys are always on, you're always here, you're always doing something.
Yeah, what time was Ethan texting you last night? Like 9:30 and he was still
It was
working
like
at the
8 or
shop?
9 and you were like, you knew you were in the
I didn't leave
doghouse.
till 10.
So
You were in the new project coming up.
Sitting in bed working on it.
Sitting in bed running tests for the machine.
Jake called me. They were having a problem with one of the robots, and it just froze up. And he called me and he's like, "Are you in bed?" Yep. He goes, "Why do you have your laptop? What are you working on?" I'm like, "I'm programming." It's 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'm programming. All right, show me what's going on. And, he'll FaceTime me and walk him through the problem, and we got to have a pretty good jump on it.
All right, we touched on this a little bit in the last one, but we're gonna go back. Just curious on how long it took to take the amp from idea to parts out the door, and how many revisions there were in the process. If you got a rough idea, I heard that the first one was a little scary with a giant old grip on there that Colby seems to love.
I loved that one. It was awesome.
And then how many test rounds did we go through? I mean, we just talked about 40,000 here and 11 in one night, and you destroyed the Cerakote in a series of small fires.
So from the initial meeting, Colby brought me in and said, "We're going to do this. This is how we're going to do it." It actually did not start out the way it ended. So it was completely
sure,
different
probably didn't.
back then. So from there to the time we actually shipped the first guns was about 12 months. So
That's still a pretty accelerated time frame from going from idea to shipping the first one.
On your very first handgun.
yeah, from our perspective, it's slow.
Yeah.
It is our first ground up project. So we had to learn a lot, and there was also a short break in between there. It was about 3 months long that we had to switch gears and change because we actually moved to the new building and had to set all this stuff up. And
So you could, just for practical purposes, you can subtract that. So really, probably 9 months.
yeah, that was from
You
when,
can't count the moving.
yeah, that was from when we first had the meeting about the part to when we announced it at SHOT Show.
Okay.
And then there was about 2 months of getting the manufacturing going and getting everything going from there. As far as revisions, there was at least 7 major revisions between.
And did you guys keep samples of those?
I do have some samples. I have
Because
some of
we've
the
got-
original 3D printed.
If we've got some of that, that would be fantastic.
Are they for public consumption? Since they're prototypes, can we look at them?
I guess so, but everyone's gonna make fun of my.
Well,
It was awesome.
I can actually kind of line it up like how they were originally going to go. I don't know. It originally wasn't going to be aluminum frame.
Really?
It was going to be a polymer frame gun, and we can cut aluminum, but I can't cut polymer. So that's kind of the prototyping became that, and it was like, oh, this is a really good shoot. We started shooting the prototypes that were made out of aluminum. We're like, it's really nice, and then it just kind of transformed from there. So the initial like design idea changed quite a bit from day one to 365. It does.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question? What was the initial idea? Into that involve the FCU?
Yes, it did.
What was it? If it changed, what was the original idea? Like,
I'm saying the material changed and like
they
the
went from
yeah.
we're gonna have polymer frame to
So-
to the aluminum frame.
The entire project was based on, we make a lot of aftermarket parts for these Poly 80 frames. And one of the biggest problems is we have to open up tolerances because these rails are all over the place. And it's just constantly from one, and people drill holes and it's like this, and then one's up here and one's down here. And then once you bring that up, then now as you're trying to do your engagement, like everything is based off that rail system. So out of frustration said, why can't, if it was just all machined at one time, and all, almost all polymer guns they have these bent rails and that are at different angles, and you pick up one gun to the next gun, and you take the same slide and you put it on this slide, and then it feels a little gritty, and then you flip it over to the other one, and all of a sudden it feels fine. So that was where the FCU came in, says, okay, I want to do it in one flat shot, and we can control that within 0.2 of a thou all the way around. And now we build the entire gun down and the entire gun up. So then it really didn't matter as far as what was on the bottom of, when we first did it with polymer. And then we started playing around with aluminum, and I actually had a lot of aluminum that was pre-ordered that was coming in and all of a sudden stacking up outside, and I said, well, let's try it. So, and then once we tried it and we all looked around and said, wow, this is really nice. And then we kept kind of expanding off from that. So it was one of those things that it really went from trial and error of, what was available and how we built this gun. And then we just kept kind of tweaking it to what people wanted to see. And it was all based off from the rail system and the fire control unit and being able to adjust your frame to the correct shooter and being able to put different grips in it and making this very modular to everyone.
So how many rounds do you think you guys went through with testing?
I'd say it's pretty close. It's like 75 to 100. You kind of get lost when you're shooting so much. There was like a solid 2 months of my life that was just shooting.
75 to 100,000, not 75 to 100.
I would show up to work at 8, and I would grab guns, I'd grab ammo, and I'd grab a helper, and we'd go out and shoot.
Well, I mean, the good thing is, though, you did all that when ammo was plentifully available and cheap, too.
Oh, yeah. And it was like, oh, by the way, we're out of ammo again. So we'd have to wait for another 5,000 rounds to show up here and there.
Or we'd get anxious and we would stand in line in Academy. And there'd be 5 of us in line, and I'm just handing my credit card back, and it's just keep going.
So what you're saying, you all are responsible for us not being able to buy ammo for the
Well,
entire
if you
year.
live in Florida, I'm sorry.
Wow. Let me ask one more follow-up question. Is that how the FCU came into play, because of the rail system?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was because of the rail system that I wanted it perfectly flat. So that's why we do it on, we'll be able to show you even how we machine that. We machine that on a 5-axis, and we machine that flat, and then that way we can rotate everything, and everything is relative to itself and consistent between part and part.
That's definitely an added benefit, that you can swap out the frames all because of fixing one problem. You came up with another benefit.
One of our biggest problems, I will say, with the design, and when we talk about the subcompact, that it might be a little bit different, is the manufacturing of it is very cumbersome. To be able to machine that on one solid heat-treated piece, it's one thing to bring it soft, but we start hard and then machine it all so that way it doesn't have to go to a secondary process, and there's no twist, there's no bend, there's no anything on there. So it does limit the different volume, and I'm speaking now to my distributors as we're sending them out.
Well, here's the $1 million question. Did you were there any issues with that project, with the amp, and were there any lessons learned through this process?
Literally all of them.
So I'll take this one.
Okay.
Yes. So it was definitely a learning curve. There was a frustration period for a while. When we first went through all of the testing, it was all based off OEM parts. As our volume started picking up, getting those OEM parts, and we're talking we were making 80% of the gun, 85% of the gun. And we're talking springs, we're talking guide rods, we're talking triggers. These little parts that these companies are doing by the thousands a day, those were the parts that we started having issues with. And it took a little bit in the process to be able to see that. So now we actually brought all of those parts in-house. Any part that we said, okay, this is a critical component. If the material is not correct, if the machining on it's not correct, if it's a MIM part, I hate the word MIM.
I know everybody knows what it is, but tell us what that means.
Metal injection molding. It is a cool process. It is definitely a cool process. If you want to pull up a YouTube video, but as soon as anybody watches that process, you can see where you're going to have, you take metal and you take a little bit of plastic and you inject it into each other and heat treat it, and then you try to control that shrink of what it's going to be. There's too much room for variation. So things like extractors, we went through and, okay, we're now doing it at a billet. We're machining stuff hard. We're doing locking blocks, trying to get the locking block from even, standard OEM, putting them in, and the holes don't quite line up. Well, we have no forgiveness. It is a metal frame. It is a metal FCU and a metal locking block that all have to line up. So they have to be concentric within each other for 2, 3, probably 5 tenths to be able to get everything to align properly. So we made them out of billet. It's one of those parts that no other company would even think about making out of billet because it's so many different angles and processes and stuff that does it, but it made for a better part. We got to play around with different materials. When we get to 5,000-6,000 rounds, and all of a sudden we'd start to see, a structure crack on it or something along those lines, and we'd be like, all right, We stop. We go back. Let's try a different material. And we got to go through and test a lot of the material, and it was really good for our engineering. It was really good for our entire team because we learned so much through this process. Now we're already applying that to guns that we're making now, and new products that are coming out, and that's expedited it. And then now being able to have relationships for help the testing process. That where Ethan says, okay, 2 months. It was probably closer to 3 to 4 months of this entire process was just shooting every single day and trying to get, all right, let's see what's going on. Let's see where we're starting to see stress on it, where we're seeing. And, the best part is we ended up coming up with a very flat shooting gun, and one of the parts that, can I at least say it? Because it's going to be coming out in the next week or two. We're going to
say whatever you want to.
You're the
All
boss.
right, internally compensated slide.
Oh, snap.
So we got to test that this week as well. And
Somebody got to test it a little too enthusiastic.
and
Have a high stress job.
we went through that and putting camera on it, got to see how well it really works. And we'll take that and we're going to apply that to different guns, and we're looking forward to that coming out. And like I said, the testing process, that was the biggest thing that we got to learn, and we're going to now apply to our different products, and especially as we grow as a company.
One thing about it though, if anybody does have problems, you guys have a pretty good warranty, don't you?
Lifetime warranty on all of our products. That is one thing. Anything that you look up on Live Free Armory, we always have customer service on here. Someone will always take your phone call. We guarantee anything. We actually we just had a customer, which is probably something we should put marketing on. So we had a customer that had his amp, and he was cleaning that, and then he had a 365. And he had a G19, and he was going through cleaning those, and his wife didn't like the smell of the cleaner, so she put a candle next to him and almost burnt their entire house down. The 2 polymer guns didn't make it so well. Luckily, being a metal frame gun, he ended up contacting us. All we had to do was replace the cruciform in the back, and I think that was about it, right?
It was the trigger, the whole trigger, and then the plastic inside of the striker.
Yeah.
And his red dot was messed up, and the fiber optic melted out of the front sight.
Okay, so he had a serious fire, and we replaced everything from there. We've had people that have anybody that, what is it? We will fix stupid once.
Yeah.
And we all make
fixed
mistakes.
stupid once.
We'll fix stupid once. We've had mistakes.
Well, you're
where,
like snap.
So you mean I can't goldsmith on it?
Bust out the
people
drummer.
have put aluminum parts in just a metal vise, and they collapse the upper.
Fixing someone else's problem is that's above and beyond. And, as far as customer service goes, that's really taking care of them, and that impresses me.
So, this is probably more for Colby, but where do you see LFA in 10 years? Where do you guys want to be? Where are you going to be?
So the plan is actually 30 years. So we're laying things
Oh,
out
he's
now.
looking way ahead.
So I'm still young. My plan in 30 years is to be one of the largest manufacturers. Right now we're averaging about 22% growth. That's a little aggressive. We're going to slow down. But if we maintain an 8% growth over the next 30 years, then we'll be comparable to the largest manufacturers in here. And the plan is to be able to provide, we're not making $3,000 guns. We're not making $4,000 guns. Guns that everybody can still afford and shoot, and put quality to that product and where it needs to be. And it's all based off our engineering capabilities. And we've got one of the hardest parts down in being able to have the manufacturing and the engineering. Now we just need to be able to expand. And we don't have large. There's no big investors that we're answering to. It's just me. So, that does slow growth, but that's what allows us to be able to keep expanding from here.
One thing you kind of didn't touch on in this so far, but talk about that you all are a U.S. manufacturer using everything U.S., correct?
Yes, that is very important. That's important to the entire company, and something that we need to stress more. COVID was a big example of that, and it was a pretty good advantage that we had, and it's something that we started from the beginning. Is that all of our material comes from the U.S. We cut about 40,000 pounds of stainless a week right now. We've got about the same in aluminum, and it all comes from the U.S. So even these larger manufacturers, they started having issues being able to get material, and they started calling us because we had it. We have 40, 80, 100,000 pounds on our floor. We have 200,000 pounds that's in Orlando, and then our mill runs that are still sitting up in Chicago that come down. So as COVID hit and everybody that was trying to save a few cents here, a few dollars per pound, and I understand, bottom line, it definitely adds up. I've got some products that, especially right now where prices are going up, and we haven't increased prices on any of our completed products, and I'm just eating the material cost, but it's still not worth saving that extra dollar per pound, or sometimes it's significant, but that's something that we truly feel at Live Free Armory, and one of my passions is to be able to bring up American manufacturing, and through some of the innovations, through some of the high-speed machining, high-feed machining, some of the tooling, some of the stuff that I got to show you guys this week of what we do. We can compete with lower wages with overseas, and I believe that we truly can compete on manufacturing level with these other countries. We just need to invest into it. We need to invest in the people is the main thing, is making sure that people are keeping our engineering in-house, keeping our manufacturing, the trade schools. I've been looking at, I've got an insane schedule, but teaching classes to be able to, I can kind of cherry pick as well, through the class, and then be able to find people that work, that come and work here and enjoy what they do. But we really need to encourage manufacturing in the U.S. and we can compete. I know we can. We're doing it right now.
Yeah,
and
it is.
and I've had some projects where I know I'm competing against a foreign company, and I'll go down a little bit lower just so we keep that project in the U.S. And it has nothing to do with trying to make all this money on top of the end. It's just, that's something that I believe truly is important.
All right. Well, that was the full-on interview. Now we get to the lightning round.
These are a little lighter questions.
I thought we were done.
No.
Well,
It's a lightning round. Come on, this
And you only have 5 seconds to answer.
all right.
Oh, I can't think that quick.
Yeah, sure you can. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Coke.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Mountains.
cake or pie?
Cake.
I have Crohn's. I can't eat either.
Oh,
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Celebratory cheesecake.
Celebratory cheesecake. All right. Polymer or metal?
Metal.
Had a feeling they'd answer that one.
What? Unreal. I never would have thought that.
hey, as far as dinner and food, cow or chicken?
Cow.
Cow.
Correct answer. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Anything can be a sandwich.
Fair enough.
9mm or 45?
9mm.
9mm because you can at least afford to shoot it.
Unless it's 10mm, which is the best
The
millimeter.
best millimeter.
As far as music goes, country or western?
No.
Country.
Did you just say no? Okay, so. What is your favorite hunting caliber and why is it 270?
And why is it 270?
It's not. It's not.
30-06, and that is truly because that's what I hunted with as a kid.
How is 30 out of 6 greater than 270? It's a
It was rifle my grandfather.
I'm a big
I'll give
fan
you
of
that.
6.5.
We saw. We saw.
I'm sure everybody's going to see soon.
What is your favorite style of pizza, and why is it Chicago style pizza?
What is Chicago? Is it deep dish?
It's a
I
deep
just
dish.
like deep dish pizza.
We're actually going to be in Chicago on Sunday.
Yeah.
For
Giordano's.
IMTS.
And
Giordano's.
as long as my pizza used to have a face, I'm good.